Hello and welcome to the Cryptocurrency News channel. I got to talk about an article I read just came out yesterday that the US government actually owns massive stashes of Bitcoin. Now, the US government is not good at many things, and the management of these massive stashes of Bitcoin is one of them. You see, the US government actually owns these Bitcoins because of seizure operations, whether by money laundering, tax evasion, or criminal activity, i.e., BitConnect. Or like if someone just did like a rug pull, they will actually essentially collect the Bitcoin, sell some of it, and use some of it to actually pay the people that were rug pulled, i.e., BitConnect. Again, they have a bunch of coins from BitConnect, they're auctioning them off and using part of the proceeds to pay back the people that actually got rug pulled. But since Bitcoin's gone up so much, they might still have some of those Bitcoins left. In that case, they do the inefficient thing of selling the Bitcoin a lot of times at the lowest price possible to actually, I guess, gain the government some money. For instance, they sold a bunch in 2018 and 2019 when Bitcoin was around $3,000, $3,000 to $6,000. Probably the worst time to actually sell it, knowing that's just proving that the U.S. government cannot time the market right because they auctioned a lot of Bitcoins and a lot of other crypto as well when the market was at its lowest. And they also did this in 2014, and the $100 million they sold of Bitcoin then could have been worth like 60, 70 billion by now. So I don't really know how interested they are actually in Bitcoin because they're definitely not holding it. They're selling it whenever they get the chance. However, they've actually sequestered a lot of Bitcoin throughout the years. What if they really didn't sell all of it? What if they did keep some in reserve? What if the Fed actually has, a lot of people think the CIA actually created Bitcoin. I personally don't really believe that. But what if, through these seizures, they've actually kept some of those Bitcoins? Like they'd have sold a lot of it because we've seen them sell a lot of it, like in the public auctions. So you can't say like they're secretly keeping most of it. No, they've actually sold a lot of it. But maybe they actually kept some of it and it's stored in Fort Knox. So instead of gold there, we have Bitcoins, or maybe for gold, we have gold and Bitcoins there on some kind of like thumb drive or something. Now, back in 2014, 2015, most people didn't think it was going to be much of a thing, but they seized a lot in the last 2 years too because of like random crappy ass ICOs. And other rug pulls. I believe only a part of that went to pay for the victims. Because remember, the victims, when they get rug pulled, they get reimbursed for cash value, not cryptocurrency value. And since crypto's gone up a lot the last 2 years, and they take a while to pay these people out because of bureaucracy. You know how long bureaucracy takes for these things. It takes forever. And the value of Bitcoin's gone up. They don't actually have to sell all of it to pay back the people that were rug pulled. They don't really have a way to see like who actually had how many Bitcoin. They basically just pay people back in the amount of fiat they lost, which sucks for the person, but at least you're getting your money back. At least what you lost at the time you actually lost it. But that opens up the question like, do they actually still have some Bitcoin in the government coffers? Now, Bitcoin is one of those that is probably the one they have the most. They probably also have some ETH and maybe some other tokens. Those other tokens, I'm pretty sure they just completely liquidated because a lot of those are just completely worthless now. But, Bitcoin and Ethereum, they might actually, like the US government might actually have a stash. And in the future, they might actually have kept some for national security. Now, remember, like there have been several economic advisors and even like one of the defense ministers that have said like digital assets can be threatening to national security because of the economics they actually present. What if they actually took heed of that and they actually kept some of those digital assets and they're just working in the background to actually prevent these things from happening? But if it does happen, then they have plenty of Bitcoins anyways. It's like the biggest value the U.S. government has is going to be in Bitcoins. So if they actually plan to loosen up regulations on Bitcoins, it would actually make sense for them to have a backdrop because they don't need to sell all of it to pay back the people that got rug pulled. They can actually keep some in reserve and quite a lot by our standards. Keep some in reserve just in case cryptocurrency and this Bitcoin thing gets really big. So if that's true, we might not face as much regulatory pressure as we otherwise would if the government already has some Bitcoin, because they already have Bitcoin, which I think they actually do. Probably Bitcoin and Ether, because those are the ones that are rug pulled the most, and those are the ones that they would actually have the most. If the government already has those two in storage, they might not be as afraid of them gaining more popularity. And with the politicians coming on the side of Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies now, it's much more likely that the government will actually flow along as well. Maybe some of those politicians already know that the US does have stashes of Bitcoin and Ethereum. We really don't know about that very, very much at all, and we can only really guess. But like it's very possible that they actually have quite a big store of Bitcoin. I mean, not talking like half the supply or whatever, or Satoshi Nakamoto or whatever, but they could actually, for all those seizures, they could have kept like a third of it back, and that would mean they actually have a pretty big stockpile, which means the government might be one of the biggest holders of Bitcoin just through the seizures that they didn't sell all of. So if that's the case, I see really good things for Bitcoin. And because I see good things for Bitcoin, I do see things good for the rest of the market. We'll actually have to see how this goes because the US government does sell every once in a while. And if they actually held some back until now, which I still think they do because they've been talking about paying like the BitConnect users back forever, and I don't think they've sold all the coins. They only need to sell a part of the coins to pay back in fiat. So they might have a lot, like several hundred million or several $billion left from that whole scandal. So that's something to actually think about, and that's something to be bullish about, that the U.S. government, through all its seizures, actually has a lot of these assets, and therefore it won't really it won't really hinder Bitcoin as much, or it won't be as afraid of Bitcoin because they already have the asset. So Bitcoin could actually play a really big part in the international economy in the future, mainly because powerful governments already have stashes and they already can exert some control via regulations and also via the stashes they have. So just a theory of mine. Let me know what you think. Like and subscribe and hit that bell notifications button. Thank you and have a nice day.